All right, welcome back to the Nick and Sean podcast. I'm Nick,
I'm Sean.
and we are talking today. What are we talking about today, Sean?
We're talking about Better Off Dead, one of my favorite movies ever.
All right, so Nick came to me a couple days ago and he told me something I didn't know about him, even though I've known him for 25 years. He told me that he loves John Cusack films, and I was like, you know what? I haven't seen that many of them, so he ordered a couple online. So the first one we're reviewing today is Better Off Dead. This film came out in 1985. Director Savage Steve Holland. That's how he's credited on IMDb. I like that there's just Savage Steve Holland.
Rupert Hine did the score. I don't know
Yeah.
who that is. It sounds familiar, but I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
John Cusack and Amanda Weiss are the stars. Now, is Amanda Weiss the French girl or is she the blonde girl?
The blonde girl.
All right. So I don't know who the French girl is. French girl comes in later. Spoiler alert: she's actually the love interest. So spoiler alert for a 30-year-old.
Only
movie.
because I looked up the French girl's actual name on the casting on Google, and it wasn't Amanda Hine, I don't think.
All right. It's Amanda Weiss.
Amanda Weiss.
All right. So this is just one of those kooky little like romantic comedies that takes place. I mean, it's one of those 80s movies. It's very. I don't know. It reminds me a lot of like
The 80s?
just the
in
80s,
general?
man.
Yeah.
It's oozing with that 80s feel. So
It's very,
yeah, it's this weird. It's this, like I said, it has John Cusack. It's a ski movie, but most of it has nothing to do with skiing. Most of it is just John Cusack doing his thing, where he walks around and just like has a depressing love life. So
that's always what John Cusack does.
it's always what he does. He didn't stand in the rain in this one. He stood in the snow a lot. I guess that still counts. Well, let's start at the beginning, because like at the beginning, there's a funny little cartoon. Again, very 80s, and it just has nothing to do with the story. It has a man. I thought that this was like telling me about the story, because any other, it's like City Slickers has the same kind of cartoon. It's the same animation style. Anyway, normally,
Are you talking about the little animation?
the little
bit?
animation. Normally, the animation. I mean, I guess it tells you a little bit. I mean, like he's loses the girl, and he's on a horse, and he's a knight, and she's the princess. Anyway, so we jump into the story. The first thing I have written down is showering with your socks on. It's the first scene in the movie. We just cut to the scene, and he gets in the shower, and my first thoughts were just gross.
I just think it's an ineffective way to clean yourself.
It's bad. It's disgusting. So anyway, we move on. We meet the family, the eccentric father who. This paper boy keeps coming around and smashing his windows, and my first thought was like, why don't you just like
That was
contact,
actually the first thing I was thinking about.
like just call the paper company and be like, hey, your paper boy keeps throwing papers through my
and it
windows.
just like progressively keeps getting worse.
It does
throughout
keep getting
the
worse.
movie.
It's a little bit they do throughout the movie. Like first it's the paper boy, and then every time he fixes the windows, something tragic happens to the windows. And we get introduced to his little brother. This kid has the most amazing bathrobe I've ever seen. Just this leopard print bathrobe. I want one. And then we meet our main character, who's John Cusack. His closet, first off, it's huge. I have a big closet. This thing is like 3 times the size of my closet. It's the size of the kitchen we're sitting in right now. Who has a closet that big? And the weird thing is, on every single piece of clothing he has a picture of his girlfriend's face. Leave that guy. That's weird. Don't do that.
I think that's just John Cusack's craziness, anyways. That's just something he would do in a movie, kind of. But it's good that.
Well, let's talk about that too, because this movie's very tongue-in-cheek, but in a very strange way, where so bonkers that you're like, am I even in the same movie?
I think it has like 8 or 9 worlds. You know what I mean? It shifts from like world.
But then there's like an Asian guy, so he just talks like a sports broadcaster, and he's always trying to race with his brother who doesn't speak English. John Cusack has these really stupid goggles. I have that here too. He puts on these stupid ski goggles. Are they even ski goggles?
Yeah, I guess.
They look like welding gear. Anyway, he puts on these ski goggles while he's driving.
They're old ski goggles.
And then he backs up into this guy's car, and then that's another joke. So there's a lot of these like running bits through the movie. The dad has the garage with the broken window. and then he keeps running into this guy's car who he ends up later having to work for at this weird pig restaurant, but that's not till like the second act. So as soon as we get to the ski slopes, the first thing that pops in my head is the South Park episode. So if I'm not sure, Nick, are you familiar with that South Park episode where
It's not.
they go skiing?
I want to say, I can't remember his name, but I want to say Brian Boitano, but I know that's wrong.
No.
That's the ice skater.
That is, I mean, he's in South Park too.
Yeah.
No, this was the one where if you pizza and you French fry.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have a bad time.
You're gonna have a bad time. Though that episode is like basically just making fun of this movie, and I didn't know that. And that's one of my favorite episodes. So as soon as I got to that point, I was like, oh,
Wow.
I understand.
That's new for me. I'm glad that I'm getting new information.
Yeah, I was like, that's what they're making fun of. Yeah, because these guys got us to go down to the K-12.
So I was gonna ask you something. Did you know by the beginning of the movie that Lane was going to win the K-12?
Well, yeah.
Was there sufficient?
I was just about to,
foreshadowing?
yeah. So I was just about to
Okay.
get that on my notes. I have the K-12, and I hope, woo, you know, because of course, like, you know, oh, what's the bad guy's name? I should have written that down.
Oh man.
It doesn't matter.
I was gonna write down the whole
generic
cast,
blonde
but I
bad
just didn't do
guy.
that.
So okay, the premise of the movie is very simple. So he's dating this blonde girl, and then they go to the ski slopes, and here's Brad or something. I think his name's Brad. We're gonna call him Brad for the purpose of the rest of this. I'm gonna write that down. Brad. It's probably not Brad, but who cares? So Brad steals his girlfriend. We see her earlier, and she's changing the pictures out of picture frames, and like you're like, oh, who's this? You know, what's she doing? And then you realize that she's taking his face out of the picture frame and putting in this Brad guy's face. But what's amazing to me is that then it shows our guy John Cusack go pick her up, and then she goes to the ski slope with John Cusack. So she knew that she was going to break up with him all day, and she still like drove with him to the ski slope. How'd she get home? I guess Brad took her home.
I
It's a shitty
question
thing to do.
how they got to a lot of places in that
it's
movie.
It's a shitty thing to do. If you're gonna break up with someone, you don't, wait to, bum rides off them. It's impolite. So, his
I don't
ex-girlfriend.
actually remember this one, but I wrote it down. When Lane asks out random girl in a rude way in cafeteria. I'm sure it did.
I think that's later on. I think you're skipping forward on me, Nick. I think I even skipped forward a bit. So before we even get there, yeah, so there's an Asian race made me chuckle. So he gets dumped. And so Brad's known throughout the entire town because Brad skied down the K-12 without dying. And nobody in town's ever skied down the K-12 without dying. And they're like, oh my God, he's so cool. He beat the K-12 all by himself. I don't know enough about skiing, but I'm pretty sure that most ski slopes are made to be skied down. Even if you are very advanced, I don't know.
Well, when you get into the more advanced ski slopes, it's basically just a mountain that you're
Because you're skiing down.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know. And then, oh yeah. So he has so he's all broken up. I have written here, suicide is funny. This is another gag that keeps coming up throughout the film. John Cusack keeps trying to kill himself. I think that's a very 80s thing. Because you don't see that in modern movies. Because it's like, this is a movie for like teenagers. And throughout half the movie, it's basically just showing you cool and inventive ways of killing yourself. I think the first time he hangs himself, he tries to kill himself in the garage with a car. But, so we're moving right along. So anyway, we go to the class, and he has a really weird class with this math professor everybody loves. And I'm like, it never comes back. But it's just a weird scene where the math professor is really lame, but everybody in class is pretending like he's a superstar. And so, of course, he gets picked to go up to the board. He goes to the board. He didn't do his homework. His ex-girlfriend's at the board. And so he like has this flashback fantasy of the first time they met. And this is really, so the first time they met, it's supposed to be like, oh, what are those romantic things? He walks, if I remember correctly, he walks through somebody's picnic and then never apologizes for it, sits down at the table. And then there's this weird thing where like she wipes her nose and then he wipes his nose because he thinks that she's telling him to wipe his nose and then he thinks she's telling him to wipe his nose.
I love the nerdy, quirky things like that are in 80s movies.
It's just like, yeah.
It's like cute, but it's stupid at the same time. I don't know.
It goes on for a bit too long. Where you're like, okay, I get it. I guess that's cute. I don't know. So anyway, we flash back and he's like drawing a picture. Instead of doing the math equation, he's drawing a picture of a pregnant woman on the board. Oh, I forgot the next scene. They also did a flashback to like the fact that they've never had sex because apparently that's a big thing. The condom broke or something.
Have we talked about Ricky yet?
You haven't gotten there.
I wanted to tell you the guy that plays Ricky
Who's
is
Ricky?
the creator of Nickelodeon.
Oh, the one. Oh, yeah, we're not there yet. All right. So after that, the teacher asks if he can take out the underage girlfriend. Again, it was the 80s. It was a different time. Still, if you're a math teacher, you maybe shouldn't try to date your students. Then we go on to the cafeteria. Now, the cafeteria is when he's drawing the pictures. And he sees the girl with the roller skates, and then the pictures start talking to him. By the way, let me jump back to that. John Cusack in this movie has severe mental issues. There's no way that he hears voices, and he seems to have this sociopathic personality.
There's a point in the movie where he comes home, runs in the door, and says they're after me or something, and his dad like underlines paranoia. In the
Exactly. So even his family are starting to notice that this dude's cracked.
Yeah.
Not to mention the suicidal tendencies, which are their own issue as well. He goes to go hit on this girl who's dating the whole basketball team.
I think so.
Yeah, and so he goes over, and so he steals. Oh no, he buys somebody's skates to borrow them. Rolls up to this girl, and she's just like, "You're a jerk" or something. John, fuck you, bitch. You don't even know him. This dude just stole someone's skates to come talk to you. John Cusack can't get a break. So the funny part, the climax of that scene is when he comes out, and so he like slips on his skates, and then he rips the girl's dress off, and I just have amazing, because I was just so baffled by the movie at this point, where I was like, okay, so this is the kind of movie I'm watching.
There's just so much.
There's so much in this movie, and it's like I said, it feels both very just like taped together, but at the same time, I don't know. It's doused in this 80s nostalgic kind of shitty movie that you'd see on a Sunday morning kind of a thing.
But for some reason, like I appreciate it now more than when it was.
When it came out, yeah. I'd have Suicide is still funny because he tries to kill himself on a bridge. By the way, every time he tries to kill himself, so like one of his friends or something will like, his mom pushed him off the stairs when he had the rope around his neck, and then his buddy pats him on the back, so he falls off the bridge and he falls into a garbage truck.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking about Catwoman at that point, which came out a few years later, so maybe Batman Returns stole the garbage truck thing from this movie. Throwaway white. Oh, the black guy. Oh, okay, so there's two black gentlemen working on a power line, and as he drives by in the back of this fire truck, or in the back of this garbage truck, the black guy says, "Ain't that a shame? Throwing away a perfectly good white boy." And I appreciated that.
I wish things were more edgy like that still, but in a positive way that makes people laugh.
I think it worked. Like I don't think that's problematic at all. By the way, if you find yourself in the back of a garbage truck, you should be freaking out because you're not going to be dumped someplace safe. You know what I mean? All right, and then I have it's Christmas Eve. This movie just jumps and it's just like, oh yeah, by the way, it's Christmas Eve while they're up on the ski mountain, and I'm like, wait, what? Since when?
Now it's a holiday movie.
I was like, it's a holiday movie now? Right. I'm like, wait, this is barely even a ski. I thought it was a ski movie, barely a ski movie. Thought it was a high school movie, barely takes place in high school. And then I thought, is it a Christmas movie? No. They just haphazardly mentioned that it's Christmas Eve. Oh, and it's funny because the next note I have is Suicide is still funny because that's when he tries to kill himself in the car. Every time it's like he just like sees his girlfriend kissing or gets humiliated while he was working at the restaurant, or anytime he gets humiliated in front of his ex-girlfriend, he tries to go kill himself. So we've skipped this part. So the French girl. So while this is all going on, because we haven't even met her yet, we've only kind of seen what she's going through. So there's a French girl she's an exchange student. She moves in across the street. There's this fat kid and his mom who live across the street. I'm not fat shaming. The movie's fat shaming. fat kid and his mom, and he's your typical '80s nerd, and he's the one that Nick was talking about. I guess he's producer of Nickelodeon, or he made it.
Best not to upset mother.
Yeah. So this guy is 10 out of 10 creep show. This is some Hills Have Eyes kind of shit that him and his mom are doing, where they got a French exchange student to kind of like set him up with her. And it's really weird and awkward. And the French girl takes it in stride, I have to say. She's smart, so they don't think that she can speak English. We find out later, by the way, spoilers again, she can speak English, but nobody knows that until after Christmas dinner. So that's why I was putting that in now, because this is when we're actually, the first time we really get to interact with her and see her and John Cusack in the same room. Of course, John Cusack is smitten, like, immediately. And he's like, that French girl, all right. And then, but he's still got the ex-girlfriend thing happening. It happens to the best of us. So he doesn't really see it, but he also does kind of see it, They have quirky little moments. The son from across the street just comes off as a psychopath.
I guess I can give this part. I thought it was hilarious, this part, how like I guess her name's Jenny. I don't know if she's the mom or like the nanny or something. I can never figure that out. But she gives everyone like TV dinners for Christmas.
No, she's the mom.
She's the mom. Yeah, she has to be because of the dad. Mom is
your 1950s housewife to the extreme. She doesn't know how to cook. She keeps. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I skipped over that part. All right, we're gonna come right back to Christmas dinner. So before this, every time we see the mom cooking, she's either cooking microwave dinners, but the first time she tries to cook something new and original, it's this goop. And was it pink? And she's like, it has raisins.
It has raisins, yeah. It was like a blue jelly.
And so she plops it down on the plates in front of John Cusack and the father. And then I don't even remember anything else about that scene.
John Cusack like takes a little forkful and like just drops it on the plate.
Right. And then like it gets hard. And then it starts crawling off the plate. It's never brought back again. And so John Cusack just excuses himself from the table while this, the blob is essentially being set loose. So the mom's cooking weird things throughout the whole movie. One time they go into the kitchen and it's not referenced, but she's just putting these like claws and arms into this pot.
No, it was an octopus.
It had a claw.
Oh,
it had a claw sticking out of it. Because that's my thought. I was like, oh, it's octopus. But I was like, where's the claw coming from? So she's
I didn't see the claw.
Yeah, there's a claw.
It had the tentacle. It had like
a bunch of tentacles and then a claw. And I was like, all right, that's kind of funny. I was there's little gags in the background really is what makes this movie, because it was like, oh, that's kind of funny. Cookie Mom. So Cookie Mom gives everybody microwave dinners for Christmas. And then when she's serving,
she's like, "But you like corn."
Right. And then she's serving, so they're having Christmas dinner and the French girl's over and she makes all these French foods, and you can't see my quotation marks, but I'm doing huge quotation marks. French foods. They're like, this is French bread, but it's not, and like, I don't know. She doesn't know that nobody in this town is cultured. And so nobody speaks French, so they think that the French girl doesn't speak English. Nick took a bite of the rotten apple that was sitting in front of him.
Yeah, it was delicious.
And I was like, that's gross.
It wasn't rotten, it was just the old apple.
It was all brown.
That's what happens.
You throw it away.
Just oxidized a little bit.
So gross, Nick. All right, and then Jimi Hendrix.
Sean is against eating old apple.
I'm against eating old apples. If it's brown, flush it down. All right, Jimi Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix. Then they make fun of braces. He gets set up on a date, right? So he finally gets set up on a date because the dad's like, "You're going to date girls." I've never met any parents that were so proactive in the dating scene. So they make him go on a date with this girl with braces. Now the father of the girl wants her to date John Cusack, and John Cusack's father wants her to date. That was a funny scene. I liked that scene.
And then the girl with the braces totally rejects him.
Yeah, like immediately he's just like, I don't want to be here.
And he's like, can I write a check?
Yeah.
She demands money for like the date.
Basically, he just pays for the date that they would have gone on, and then he gets to go home. And they're both happy with it. And I like that scene. I thought that was
I love
scene.
that.
Did we figure out who that girl was? So there's a singer in the movie, and I was like, oh, is that Cyndi Lauper? And Nick was like, no, that's definitely not Cyndi Lauper. But we never looked her up. So I'm going to cut this part out while I try to look that up. Okay, and we're back. So the actress's name is Elizabeth Daily. And I was like, man, I recognize that girl. What has she been in? And she's been in everything. Everything. So I have her Pee-wee's Big Adventure. It looks like a bunch of movies. There's like Disco Fever, Chips, One Dark Night, Fame, all these movies. There's 144 movies in her IMDb, and that's just her film credits. There's also some music credits and other things.
Funny.
So, okay. All right.
I'm probably making myself sound really stupid.
It's okay. I can cut all of this out.
Right on.
Or I'll leave it in. And
Or you can leave it in.
And I'll play it twice.
And it'll make the podcast better.
Yes. All right. So, Braces Girl, not Cyndi Lauper.
Doing things with Nick and Sean.
So anyway, the music's very 80s. They're at this little prom thing. The top hat guy. There's the top hat guys around. Can't remember his name. It's halfway through the movie, and like his best friend, I don't even think they ever told us what his name was. Square-shaped sandwiches at the prom. That stuck out to me because I like a good square. What are your thoughts on square-shaped sandwiches, Nick? I like it. I like when they cut the crust.
Technically, all sandwiches are square-shaped,
Not
unless you cut it.
Well, yeah, you always cut it. But like
never cut
these
my
are like
sandwiches.
these are cut like without. They're like cubes.
Oh, like
They cut the crust off,
in
and
fourths?
then they cut them into like strips. And I was like, I like that.
I don't know. My mom may have done something weird like that, and I
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
liked it because I'm a weirdo or something.
Bread without the crust is better.
Yeah.
Of course it's better. That's why kids like it that way. Fun. Oh, so the fat guy in the middle of all this, he brings the French girl out to the dance floor, right? And he's
Actually,
like,
bread without crust.
you're still stuck on the bread thing, Nick.
Yeah, well, because crust is healthy for you. Bread crust has like more of the goodness.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that's at all true. We can look it up later.
Because bread doesn't have really much goodness besides carbs.
Tell us what you think in the comments. Do you think that
Yeah.
bread is better with the crust? Of course it's not.
I think it depends on the bread. Like, of course, a loaf of bread's.
All I'm saying is, you give me little sandwich squares, even though I know that you took a regular sandwich and cut it into little squares. In my opinion, you've made the sandwich better, and that's what I want at my
Yeah, because you
wedding
put
and
effort
funeral.
into the sandwich.
You better serve crustless bread squares at my funeral, Nick.
Crustless, peanut butter.
Bring them from home. And
What's your
don't
favorite
tell anybody.
sandwich?
I'll just throw like some turkey and some
Should I
Swiss.
get Picklemans for everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure you cut them into squares.
Or I could get Jersey Mike's. Which one you like better?
Jersey Mike's. That's good. Yeah.
How about both?
Get both.
Yeah.
Yeah, and don't tell anyone. Just like I want a caterer to show up, just like hundreds of sandwiches, and everyone's like trying to get my eulogy, and then have people like come out and like physically hand sandwiches to everybody.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, so the fat guy can dance. He brings the French girl out to the dance floor, and they're boogieing. Well, the French girl's like trying to get out of there, but the fat guy like clears the dance floor. People are like, yes, you know, he can groove, and then out of nowhere he just like collapses. And I guess we're supposed to catch on that he like overexerted himself and passed out. But from my perspective, dude had a heart attack and died. And then everybody on the dance floor just kind of fills in and they start dancing, and they just leave him dead on the floor. And that's the 80s for you.
But he's not dead.
He's not dead, but you know, if I saw that,
That's what I thought too. I thought he died.
I'd be like, that
and
guy's
I was like,
fucking
wait,
dead.
I've seen this movie before, and I don't think he's dead.
no, because then he comes out and we find out definitively that the fat guy, you know, we can make fun of him now because he's a total psychopath. He's literally like they are like controlling and kidnapping this girl. Now things were different in the 80s, you know. So kidnap was, I mean, it was still kidnap. You can't order a girl from overseas and then just like force her to date your son. That's not a thing. If you're doing that right now,
They
stop
got
it.
a cross-continental romance
They got
going
a
on.
cross-continental romance. Oh, what did she keep saying? Oh, she keeps saying they speak the international language, and she's yeah. I have written here. Can someone possibly call 911? I had the thought: is this a movie about skiing? We haven't been skiing. We've been skiing once at this point in the movie. We are like an hour into the movie. No, twice. So he first he gets broken up with at the ski place. Then on Christmas Eve, apparently it was Christmas Eve, he tries to ski down the K-12. This is the other thing. So he keeps trying to ski down the K-12, and he keeps like just eating shit. And I'm like, well, if the K-12 is so dangerous, then just falling down it should be like super dangerous. And it doesn't look like that big of a hill. It doesn't look like I don't know. I guess they're working on a budget, but it did not look like a dangerous ski slope. It looked like a pretty normal ski slope. I don't know.
It looked like the Grinch ski slope. Or not ski slope, but
I think we saw different movies, Nick.
no, he skied down the Grinch hill. That's what it was.
No, it doesn't look like that. That's what I was expecting it to look like. And really, it just looks
that's
like...
what the top of it looked like. But when he skis down, it's just like a normal skiing.
Yeah, it's
hill.
just like 5 or 6 normal ski slopes that they just back to back each other. All right, I get it. It's a film. It's not real. So, pig hat scene. This is where So, for some reason, he gets a job. I guess his dad is like, go get a job, you bum. Something like that. I don't remember exactly. So he starts working in this restaurant. So he finds out the guy who's working in the restaurant is the guy whose car he keeps running into when he's trying to race the Asian who talks like a sportscaster. So he's making these like pig burgers, but he makes the guy in back makes him wear like this stupid pig hat. And it's supposed to be real funny. It really.
Oh, I loved him. I wanted to talk about him like earlier in the podcast and jump ahead again, but
yeah.
See, the problem with mine was I went ahead and just wrote down random things that I thought were like highlights and funny to me, but I failed to like structure it to where we were in sync with
Time.
and
Time.
Yeah.
I like that scene, but I got these Fast Times at Ridgemont High vibes. That's what I kept like kind of comparing this movie to. Fast Times at Ridgemont High came out around the same time. I'm not sure if it was before or after, but it basically does what this movie does a lot better, and in a way that is just better. I think it's a better movie, but it doesn't mean that this one isn't a good movie. This one's having a lot more fun with its surroundings. The pig guy, again, it's ridiculous that he would have to wear this pig hat in the back while making pig-shaped burgers. The guy has a speech about how, like, it's not a burger patty until it's smashed like a pig or some shit like that. And then the whole movie stops for a second. Because, okay, so he's stuck back there. He's making these burgers. Pa-pow, pa-pow, pa-pow. He's hating it. And so he goes into one of his delusions again. John Cusack is off his rocker in this movie. He's not okay. He needs help. So he has this delusion where he's Dr. Frankenstein. And then he starts, I just have written, fucking hamburger. And he's just like lightning strikes a hamburger. And then the hamburger turns into this bad stop motion. There's these hamburgers that do this terrible stop motion dance. And I really wanted to talk about this because this is 1985. We have had several movies that have used stop motion. And this is some of the worst I've seen. Because it's so, I don't know, I've seen stop motion done today on YouTube by like one or two people that looked miles better than this. So I was just like, yeah, it was bad.
It was comically bad.
It was comically bad, and they kept using the bad stop motion again and again, like it was a big sell for something or something like that. It was bad. They should have just stuck to animation or nothing at all. And also
I like the montages. Those were great. The skiing.
Nick's ski story. Oh yeah, Nick told me a ski story because we were talking about the K-12, and apparently he once got lost on a ski slope and went down a black diamond, which is, I guess.
Yeah, I made it down a black diamond.
You didn't do it well.
It's a lot less dangerous than they make it out to be. Like, there's no rocks that you're going to really fall onto or anything and break your skull open or anything, but, like, I don't know. I made it down, like, skiing, like, most of the way, but, like, I fell, like, and ate shit, like, once or twice. And the thing about falling is that snow is, like, I don't know how deep, like, 12 or 20 feet or something crazy like that.
So you can get stuck in it.
So you can, like, get stuck.
All right.
But usually when you wreck, you just like half your body's like in the snow and you can get out easily, even on like a black diamond. But I'm not saying that I'm like a good skier, but I took like skiing lessons and like,
all right, Nick, now don't be bragging. I'm not saying I'm a good skier, but
Yeah,
I did take
I'm
skiing
just talking
lessons.
about my little
I
skiing
did win
thing.
14 medals in
Yes,
the Olympics.
I won the Olympics.
14 times.
14
but I'm not
million
that good of a
times.
skier. One time I skied over the Grand Canyon, but I'm not that good. All right, so back to this is actually where the awkward dinner is. So I have no idea what happened in the movie before, but I already went over the awkward dinner. There's a weird moonshine joke at the end where he's like bathing in moonshine. What was that about? And then the father lights a cigarette, and then the entire that's how they end the dinner scene, with John Cusack exploding because of moonshine. I didn't get the joke.
No, I think the dad like head exploded or something. The window broke. or
Windows
something.
broke. Yeah, there was something that
Dad
happened there.
like got so pissed that the fucking room exploded.
I
or
have
something.
killed nuns. Oh, I thought they were gonna kill nuns. A lot of this movie makes no sense. Is the next thing that I have written. So, all right, John Cusack is stupid, by the way. He keeps making stupid decisions about his ex-girlfriend. He's trying to kill himself. All right, so we find out that the French girl is hot. We've known this, like as audience members, because the French girl's, the actress herself is very attractive. We're like, oh, of course she's gonna be like, They didn't do that "she's all that" thing where I thought they were gonna like make her ugly. She can speak English, and John Cusack finds out, and he's like, oh fuck, you can speak English? So she's like, yeah, you Americans are stupid. And I'm like, all right, cool. And then there's a joke. Oh, that's where the tentacles come in, where the mom's cooking tentacles. And I wrote, they make a joke about tentacles versus testicles. That's always a good laugh whenever you can be punny. It did actually make me laugh. I was like, haha, it's not a creative joke, but it's a joke. And so the French girl, that's the other thing. They keep bringing these things up, and I'm just like, oh yeah, I guess that was a part of this. John Cusack bought a car for his ex-girlfriend that he needed to fix up, and John Cusack doesn't know anything about cars. And I'm like, again, he's stupid. Why would you buy a car, tell your girlfriend you're going to fix it up, if you don't know how to fix up cars? That's like...
She completely fixes his car, and then he asks her to put one
yeah.
single part in.
So I have this, so he confronts her. He's like, what are you doing in my car? Because she's underneath it. Now, this is where I was saying, they kind of try to make her look like, they put black speech and stuff on her. Black oil. They put black oil on her. And she's under the car and she's like, you stupid American. That's how she talks. I don't know if she's actually French, but her French accent does not seem legitimate.
Right.
So you stupid Americans, you think that blah blah. And so anyway, apparently his car only needed one part, which I've had that before.
She sounded too French, if that makes sense.
Yeah, she sounded too French. Yes.
Yeah.
If it's I actually speak very good English, and I'm like, no, you don't. That's not good English. You should try harder. I wouldn't have said it if she hadn't, So the car build montage, and this is our little montage where the two love couples, and it's like, oh, they have adorable scenes, and we're changing the oil, and John Cusack gets oil in the face. Wah! It's that kind of humor. And so they of course they build the car, and the car is now up to it's a Camaro again. It's no longer a junk car. It's a really nice Camaro.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And then that's when Nick started passing out, and I was like, man. So I kept watching the movie while Nick slowly faded over the course of the next 10, 15 minutes. And he actually had to come back and rewatch the movie this morning. So, they have a romantic dinner. I forgot about that. They have a romantic dinner where, again, he takes her to this restaurant after hours. I didn't understand this part either. Takes her to this restaurant after hours, and then he goes and he heats up these microwave dinners. And I'm like, there's the microwave dinners again. This is a really weird running gag. And so anyway, they of course they love each other, but they don't say it yet because we're not ready to show each other our affections yet. Oh, she's like, this was before that. So she's like, you'll just need one big victory. Oh, by the way, we are now, this is how fast this movie just jumps. We are now to the day before he needs to ski down the K-12 in order to win his ex-girlfriend back so he can beat Brad and win the admiration of his town folk. Is that that's what happens, right?
Pretty much. Have we got to the K-12 yet? I feel like
We aren't even there yet. This is why I'm like, this isn't even a skiing movie. He does not ski for like 90% of this movie. So anyway, we go on his drive with the Camaro. He wins the race against the Asian guy who talks like a sportscaster and the one who doesn't talk at all. And then they're like, yeah. This whole time, the fat guy is still being a creeper. He keeps trying to like prevent the French girl from hanging out with John Cusack. So we finally get to the day of the K-12. It's happened. We're here. We're in the last third of the movie. She takes him out the day, it's one day to train for this. Instead of training to ski, this is what I also love about this movie. Instead of training to ski down to K-12, he literally just builds a car for like 2 weeks with a French girl. And I'm like, that's okay. So I'm just gonna go with the movie's logic at this point, but shouldn't have been more about skiing. Maybe it's expensive to film ski slopes. Maybe you go out, you get a bunch of footage, you come home, and you realize that the amount of footage you have isn't that much. You know, you're like, we got to fill out the rest of this movie. So one ski. Oh yes. So they finally go out the morning before the K-12 race. All right. And this is when they decide they're going to train. So they do another montage for like, which could only been like 3 hours of them skiing. And then the French girl's like, you're ready. And then the guy with the hat, I think, pulls up. He skis up and he's like, oh my God, he's already at the top of the mountain. You have to get up there or else they'll think that you're not going to the race. And he's like, all right, I'm ready. And then the guy leaves and runs over his ski and breaks his ski. So now John Cusack only has one ski. Oh, by the way, oh my God, I haven't even talked about the Paperboy. Nick, explain the Paperboy.
Oh, the Paperboy that always
Yes.
destroys the dad's garage.
Yes. So
yeah.
What's his relationship with the John Cusack character?
Well, I guess, is it the same guy? Oh yeah, John Cusack owes the kid $2. And so like there's like a whole scene where like the kid appears in the woods as John Cusack's walking through the woods, and like then like multiple other bikes appear, and like then there's like more and more bikes, and he just starts running and running and running. And actually that's where my memory always lapses and I can't remember.
That's when he runs in the house and the dad underlines the thing that says paranoid.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because he's running from people.
Because he's running from
He's not actually paranoid. His dad's just like over.
And nobody just pays the kid $2. He's like, oh yeah, my mom's not here. She's the one who pays the $2. Again, all of these problems can be solved just by calling the paper route company and being like, hey, stop hiring psychopathic 12-year-olds who break windows and chase down my son. But it's the 80s, so it's wacky. And so we finally get to, so the kid is chasing him on this weird little like ski bike thing that he has. And he's chasing, so John Cusack is trying to get away and John Cusack only has one ski. Now somehow John Cusack skis from the bottom of the mountain to the top of the mountain with this kid chasing him. And then Brad's waiting for him at the top of the mountain.
So crazy.
It's so crazy. So, and that's right when they were like, oh, he's not even coming. And then John Cusack pops up because he's running. He's not running. He's half skiing because he has one ski from this kid on the motorbike who's just screaming, $2, $2. It gets really old very quickly. So they go down the mountain, and Brad's like, oh, I'm going to beat him. Yeah. And then his friends at the bottom of the mountain are like, oh my God, he's skiing with one leg. And they're like, what? So he's skiing down the K-12 with one leg, with one ski. And then this kid takes this tumble, the Paperboy takes this tumble off this ridge that definitely killed him. They do a quick callback shot to show that, like, oh, the kid's not really dead. And I'm like, no, that kid is dead. If the impact didn't immediately kill him, he has internal bleeding. So they killed the Paperboy, and now they're head-to-head. John Cusack and Brad just flying down this mountain. And then So of course John Cusack, he wins the race. I'm not, of course he does. He wins the race on one leg, and there's this last minute heartbreak because you have to have that like third act breakup, but they put it in a weird spot. They put it right at the like middle of the third act. You're supposed to have that right before the third act. You're supposed to have like the French girl and John Cusack get into it, and then she's like, "I don't even want to help you with the race."
I kind of like the way they did it though. It's kind of a nice break from the structure.
I guess.
Of the norm.
I guess you can look at it that way if you want to be positive about things, Nick. I just want to hate things.
I'm naturally benevolent.
So
I've never hurt anybody.
But it's predictable is the problem. It's very, she sees him kiss his girlfriend. Of course, this is how shallow his ex-girlfriend is because he beat Brad. His ex-girlfriend's like, "Oh, I should have been with you all along," because
And he's like so in the moment that he ends up kissing her. And that's not good.
But then
it's not cool. It's
he
a
looks
party
around,
foul.
Party foul. Then he looks around. The French girl's gone, and he's like, "Oh, bro, I should have been with." He's Keanu Reeves now. "I should have been with the French girl." Whoa. All right,
something like that.
He goes to chase down the French girl, and there's a sword fight because of course there is. So the fat guy shows up. He's like, "Bug, you can't have her, man." He talks like Bart Simpson now. He doesn't, but in my head. He's like, "You can't have her, man." And he pulls out his ski. And so John Cusack pulls out his... they're not skis. What are those things? What are the things?
Oh my God, what are they called? The things that, like the poles?
Yeah,
the ski poles. Yeah,
ski poles. All right. So they both have a ski pole. And of course they do the sword fight thing. And it's not very epic or climactic, but you're like, all right, I guess they gotta wrap up the fat guy and his character. I have written here bitchin' Camaro because they're just like, now he has this Camaro, and so now he's cool because he has a cool car. I can't remember what that relates to. Oh, they drive off in the nice car. He throws the French girl into the Camaro, and they speed off. And then out of nowhere, and they didn't set this up earlier in the movie. The fat guy gets picked up by this nerdy girl, and they make eyes at each other. And then the mom's like, "What? You gotta help me." Oh yeah, the fat guy falls into the mom when they're doing the sword fight. So they're both laying on the ground going, "Ah," and then they drive off in the Camaro.
Best not to upset mother.
Yeah, the guy's a creeper. He had issues, man. Everybody in this movie, the only person in this movie that I like from like a character standpoint is the French girl. I'll just get through this last part real quick. There's a final kiss. Of course, there's a final kiss on a baseball field because she made this comment about how she likes baseball. And then there's this really weird shot at the end. The movie just didn't know when to stop at the end. It's just like, here's a weird scene, here's a weird scene, here's a weird scene. So a spaceship takes off out of the parents' house after the father fixes the window for the last time. It doesn't even break the glass of the garage, which was kind of the joke. It just flies through the ceiling of the house, and the dad's like, "Whoa!" We didn't even talk about the little brother.
There's so much we didn't talk about. So everybody listening, go watch Better Off Dead.
Didn't even talk about the little brother.
It's a great time waster.
It is a great time waster. The little brother. I just want to get to this. So the little brother was building things throughout the movie, and then John Cusack comes in at some point, and he's like, "Why are you messing around with all these toys?" Because he's building like a model kit. He's like, "Don't you know these toys are for babies?" And then like the kid turns around, and the model he's built is like a high-powered laser, and it like explodes a box. And John Cusack just leaves, and I'm like, "Dude, your brother's a psychopath." Oh, there's the other scene too. Where on New Year's Eve, John Cusack opens the door to his brother's room, and there's just a bunch of hookers.
Yeah, he's like, "Happy New Year."
Happy New Year. And yeah, so John Cusack is just not telling anybody about the crazy shit his brother's, like plausible deniability, I guess. And so at the end, the spaceship comes out of his brother's room and flies off into space. So that's that part. The thing I was going to say about the French girl, the reason I liked her character, I think it really comes down to there's just this one scene on Christmas Day where she gets a picture of the fat guy from the fat guy. It's just a picture of him. And She just goes outside, she sits down, and she just starts having a laugh.
By the way, this is Nick, and that's Sean. Just in case we fooled you.
We're like an hour into this, Nick. I'm pretty sure they figured out which one of us we are.
First of all, they don't know who Nick or Sean is unless it's one of our friends.
They're all our friends. We only have 7 subscribers.
Exactly.
Exactly. Thank you to our 7 subscribers.
Amen.
Amen.
Better off dead. Nick and Sean doing things.
Nick and Sean Doing Things podcast.
1949. Copyright. Balls to the wall. Thank you.